Hi YouTube, it's Catherine Michelle. Got an update. I don't know what's wrong with my hair. It's like I have these little stragglies. It's like when it grows, it just like poof. Anyway, so an update on what's going on in the Philippines today. They are now up to 202 cases, 17 dead. Yesterday they had 12 dead, and today it was 17. And one of those who died from the virus was a police officer. They're saying they're hearing on the news there that there's a vaccine, but it's not being tested on humans. And I think, like I was telling them, that's something that I think a lot of countries are saying, that in a lot of news. Now, whether or not it's true or not, I've heard several times that there's a vaccine out there, but they're waiting to do human trials. I do not advocate vaccines at all, but I'm not going to speak for everybody out there in the world. That's definitely not my place. So I could care less if they have a vaccine or not. I just think a lot of this, I think there's another way, but I'm not an expert. My opinion. Okay. And they were saying they wanted to also either explain better or make clear, or maybe they found out differently, that the reason why there is not transportation to before I begin that, the airport, the president of the Philippines has now stated that he's changed the rule where, people had 72 hours or 72 hours to get out. That now has been changed, that any foreign national from any country can leave anytime they want. They just have to get to the airport, but there's no public transportation to the airport. So some people are being resourceful. They said that they saw in the news that there were a couple of guys but they were walking. So that was their means of transportation, were their 2 feet, which, why not? If you can walk that far, do it. I don't blame them. It's probably a beautiful walk now that there's a lot less traffic. And the German people who were being interviewed on their television program were just like saying, hey, they had no problem with what was going on. They understood what was going on, and they were just going to be heading home, I guess. They were heading to the airport. But anyway, now back to the transportation mode. The reason why, other than the fact that they're shutting down okay, that was me jumping ahead, and I was going to be wrong. So, because they do have their taxis running, the things that are picking up the people in large groups, but not as many can travel at a time, those are still operating. But the reason why what they call taxis and trikes, which is not what we think of a trike here in America, it's not that little tiny 3-wheel thing that we teach our children to ride on. I guess it's more like a scooter type thing. But anyway, those have all been shut down, and here's why. On average, a trike, to ride a trike or have someone ride you on a little moped, it was 20 pesos. Now out there, the peso to dollar ratio is 50 pesos to every dollar. So it was relatively inexpensive to take a trike. And then taxis used to be where they would be anywhere from 100 to 200 pesos per ride. Now, price gouging is worldwide, I guess, because what the president found out some of these people were doing, or unfortunately a lot of these people who owned these trikes and owned these taxis were doing, is instead of charging 20 pesos, they were charging 300. And instead of charging 100 to 200 pesos for a taxi, they were charging 1,000. And so the president said, you know what? No, I'm just going to shut you all down. And for that, I thought, it makes it inconvenient for those who need to get around, but they wouldn't be able to get around anyway because they couldn't afford the prices. But I say kudos to their president for shutting down the price gouging for, these people doing stuff like that. And because we see that here in America, where people went out and hoarded and bought a whole bunch of stuff, and now they're trying to sell it on the side and price gouge their fellow Americans, which you people who do that, you suck to high heaven. You are not even human. You're subhuman in my book. But anyway, so the gist of it, airports are now open to all foreign nationals, will remain open to all foreign nationals, can leave the country. Doesn't mean you can come in, but you can definitely leave if you want to. You just have to find a way to the airport. And then when yesterday when we talked about contacting the president because the VA clinic in Metro Manila had closed its doors, and that was the only means of medical care for our veterans over there, and I had suggested, why don't they email? They came back today and they said, you know what, they thought about it, and they said that email probably wasn't going to work. So they came up with a really good idea. They said people should tweet on the president's Twitter account, right? I mean, if you email, it's probably going to be lost in some email vortex hole somewhere. But if you're tweeting, then it's going to be visible to not only the president's people, maybe the president himself, but definitely to the world, because a lot of people go to President Trump's Twitter page. So that's what they suggested. They said, well, maybe people should start putting, messages on the Twitter account. And I said, that's a great idea, actually. That's a pretty good idea. So that's it. A few updates for today, but I have not had a chance to get out there and follow up and read up. I haven't even watched or read any of the data yet coming out, even from yesterday. I'm behind from yesterday, so that means I'm way behind. So we'll get caught up eventually. Any other questions? Please feel free to write them down below. And you guys have a great day.